So, for me personally, 2016's Suicide Squad was just an unfortunate disaster. But one of the shining points of that mess of a film was Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. Not only was that film just lucky to have an actress of her caliber in it, it was also a situation where her pairing with the character of Harley Quinn was just inspired. One of those instances where the filmmakers behind the film so clearly understood the original character, but also knew that this specific actress would elevate that role significantly. I feel no hesitancy putting Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn in the same category as Heath Ledger as Joker or Johnny Depp as Captain Jack Sparrow. She's just magnificent. And for that reason alone, I was looking forward to seeing what this standalone Harley Quinn film would look like. And then the trailers started to drop, and my excitement only rose. From what I could tell anyways, it looked like it would be colorful, wild, bizarre, and just plain fun. Capitalizing, hopefully anyways, on the few elements that were successes in Suicide Squad, while also leaving behind all that made that film a failure. And having now seen Birds of Prey, I can happily report that this is better than Suicide Squad. A solid amount of what I was seeing in and looking forward to from those trailers did play decently in the final film. Of course, Margot Robbie returned, clearly just as ecstatic about this character as ever, giving us a whole new slew of iconic one-liners, sassy comebacks, and just all-around baddie ridiculousness. On top of that, I was so excited to see that director Cathy very clearly had a great eye for very appropriately colorful and wacky production design, as well as some really kick-butt action. Not that any of those action sequences throughout the film really had any stakes at all, but honestly, if you're walking into this film just looking for something goofy and fun like a 90s action flick, you'll probably have a really good time with a solid half of this film. Unfortunately, the other half of the film may in fact leave you wanting. For me personally, anyways, much of Birds of Prey was just this prime example of what happens when one of the leading actors is also a producer on the film. Now, yes, of course, there have been examples, many of them, where an actor has stepped into that position and produced something awesome. There can be many a great benefit to having an actor in that producerial position, and even on Birds of Prey, there were moments where that was true. That the leading actress wasn't just a producer, but also really the creative engine behind this project, I think really did produce, again, in certain moments, this greater level of palpable investment from all of the performers. I just felt like I could see them throughout the film being given that much more creative freedom and permission to just try anything. And that certainly can produce and has produced something that feels fresh, unexpected, and exciting. But on the other side of that coin, it can also lead to, like it did far too many times on this film, just this feeling of overindulgence and unfocusedness. I mean, there were too many moments where things just got really iconic and cool for the actors, or they were made to look really cool as they winked, once again, at the camera. And there were just these constant, very random choices that felt less like the characters being random and unpredictable, and more like the actors just not knowing exactly what to do and going, hey, this is a weird choice, let's go with that. And all of it rarely felt as tight, focused, and effective as it clearly wanted to be, and as tight, focused, and effective as it could have been had it just been trimmed down or guided with a bit firmer of a hand from the film's director. There were so many scenes that were clearly driven by nothing more than just the silly shenanigans that the actors had come up with during rehearsal. Scenes that came close, at some points, to being something great and unique, but ultimately, time and again, just fell flat. And yes, this occurred in scenes with an Academy Award-nominated actress like Robbie, and even the often brilliant and wonderful Ewan McGregor. And speaking specifically to that character, he was yet another that felt so aimless and just uninterestingly weird. And on top of that, there was this one scene. Now, I get it. I understand what this scene was there for. The scene was designed to tell us, the audience, that this person was so much more than just a goofy comic book villain. He was truly diabolical and evil. But unfortunately, not only was that scene placed far too late into the film to carry the weight and have the effectiveness that it needed to, it also just felt yucky. Felt like it belonged in A Clockwork Orange, not the film that I had been watching for the last hour. Everything leading into that scene and also proceeding from it had a for lack of better comparison, Suicide Squad tone. And as such, not only was the scene that we're discussing robbed of any real power, it also derailed the style and tone of the rest of the film around it. And that leads me to a couple of other points of criticism. When it came to this film's overall message and just underlying theme, it was, at best, unfocused, and at worst, kind of contradictory. It really did seem like it wanted to have its cake and to eat it too. Now, would it have been interesting to use a character like Harley Quinn and actually use that character to legitimately talk about something like toxic relationships? Would it have been interesting and maybe even good to take a comic book character like this and use her to talk about misogyny, bigotry, evil, hatred? I mean, potentially anyways, yes, if only because our society, myself included, just desperately need to talk about these things, to be confronted with these things. Unfortunately, the film just too often danced around them, in moments wanting to hit us hard in the face with them, but then quickly backpedaling out of them. Why? Why apply 90s action film logic, choosing to show us caricatures instead of people? Well, again, it seemed like anyways, those behind the scenes just wanted to have their cake and to eat it too. Again, they wanted to have those hard-hitting topics, but they also wanted to have a film that was just light, fun, and your classic comic book film with this kooky anarchist as the lead character. And I would be fine with, excited about either of those options, but when they're combined, they do rob one another of their cohesion and power. And kind of tangled up with that, this film did struggle to maintain a really kind of clear and palpable point of view. Yes, I do recognize that even the title itself, Birds, plural, Birds of Prey, does seem to insinuate that this is an ensemble film. But it really wasn't. I mean, this was Harley's film, and as it attempted to segue between the different characters and their numerous backstories, I constantly got narrative whiplash. And as one final thought, while I would indeed still maintain that Margot Robbie is wonderful in this character, after watching Birds of Prey, she is starting to feel just a little bit like Jack Sparrow after the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels. I'm just not sure where the filmmakers and the storytellers go with her from this point onwards. Kind of two options, I suppose. One, to make her more of a leading character versus a supporting character. They could risk changing the character, allowing her to grow and evolve, but again, running the risk of alienating old-time fans that would say, that's not my Harley Quinn. Or they keep her the same and then run the risk of her shtick becoming tiresome and predictable. And once again, I would contend anyways that you really can't do both, even though this film did kind of try to, at least without things feeling just a little bit inconsequential and cheap. And for all these reasons, I will give the film a 2.5 out of 5. I would still love to know what you guys thought of the film though, so definitely comment below and let me know. And assuming that most of you watched both Joker and Birds of Prey, I am curious, do you have a preference as far as the overall style and tone of these two films side by side? Joker kind of taking the wholly grounded approach, and Birds of Prey, like we've been talking about, kind of trying to ride the line between the two. Do you prefer one over the other? Definitely comment below and let me know. And finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.